Blizzard spent the entire budget on this fight. Are you ready? Because the Green Wizard is. Today, we're going to be fighting the Snake Man, along with the girls. This part of the fight is actually very important because although there are no mechanics going on, it will be included in your parse. And remember, if you get a lower parse, that means that you're a worse person. So let's be like these perfect people, which I'm about to show you. They have big numbers, and that means that we should care about what they do. Here are just some of them. They play classes that are mostly ones we care about, but I only care about the warriors right now, so we'll be focusing on them. We're going to be checking out what their kill times are. It seems like these guys are doing vastly different amounts of DPS, and a lot of it probably has to do with their kill times, but also it has to do with what's going on between their ears, and you might have a problem there. So we're going to be seeing what their raid's damage profiles look like. Are these guys doing a lot more damage than their teammates? Are they somehow cheesing this? Or would that just be cope? And I'm also curious about their gear, because that's a thing that, of course, who wouldn't want to have as an excuse for doing less damage? So we'll make sure to inspect that too. And finally, why not check what their rotations are? What spells are they actually casting during this? Is there anything odd going on? I bet that what we'll find is they have great uptime, and they're doing single target mostly. Other than when the girls are up, there's only one thing you can hit at a time, unless they're engaging in animal abuse and killing their teammates' pets. We must inspect their timelines and read their minds. So we're going to be checking out their different raid groups. We'll be seeing what the damage profiles look like. Are these guys being set up to compete at the expense of their teammates, or maybe not? These are the kill times that we see for them, and they're very close to each other, but the one all the way at the top is the number 1 guy, and the fastest one is actually the number 5 guy. Interesting. These are their damage profiles. We'll go through them one at a time, and it looks like, for the most part, they're pretty balanced, except for the top contender. He sticks out just a little bit. When we overlay them all on each other, look at how balanced this appears. Now, let's talk about how your uptime can get hammered on this fight, and then you'd get a terrible parse, and then we can get back to looking at their gear. The worst thing you could do is be a ranged player, because look at that blood bolt. You see, it makes the whole range stack have to move, because these little swirly bobs spawn on the ground, and if you stand in them, it ouches you. You must also pray for the misfortune of your allies, such as Russell Wizard, for that way, they will receive the curse instead of yourself, and when they're dispelled, a bomb will go off, which means that you must stay away until this happens. Do not walk out of range of the people with cleanse, or you'll get to take the long path, like me. This is really, really bad for your parse. Another fatal mistake is thinking that it's smart to click recklessness. This can anger God, and then you will experience a traumatic life event, such as receiving the corrupted blood and losing the entirety of your cooldown window. What the fuck is wrong with the world? Now for the final misfortune. Am I allowed to get near the tank and cause him to take more DPS? I don't know, so I stood out right now. After you get hit with drain blood, it will purge corrupted blood, but now you may not receive healing, but you are allowed to deal damage, and that's all we care about. Definitely eat the mechanics if you're trying to parse, but let's look at their gear. As you can see, these guys have pretty easy to get gear generally. They're all dual wield fury, they are all rocking the thrash blade, and as for their offhands, most of them are using the PvP sword, so pretty easy to get in my opinion. They have some epics, but it's mostly the engineering stuff that's kind of goofy. Let's check their ability usage. It's gonna be nothing that out of the ordinary. We're noticing lots and lots of heroic strikes, like usual. Blood Surge is gonna give them slams, and of course they're gonna be spamming hamstring. When available, they'll use Whirlwind, and I'm sure that they're stacking their flagellation uptime to work perfectly with their Death Wish. So you're gonna wanna know what your kill time is with a high degree of certainty, because stacking your CDs together is gonna make your damage profile look like this. Notice how all the DPS kinda happens at the end of the fight. That's definitely on purpose. On all of these, you're gonna notice the last 30 seconds, there's a huge balloon in damage. And it would be very easy for you to accidentally use your flagellation procs on CD and then cause a situation where you actually do not get additional total uptime on flagellation, but you do use some of that uptime without it being stacked on Death Wish. So you'll want to go check out what your kill times are so you can decide when should you use your final Blood Rage and your final Berserker Rage, such that they're both up for the entirety of your Death Wish time. Or well, one or the other is. That will be really important to optimizing your DPS, which if you check the timelines now, you'll notice that they are using one right near the ends of the fight. Of course, they're using Berserker Rage at a few times during the fight, no big surprise, but all of them are getting some of these CDs off near the very end. Now, it's a little hard to show a super detailed view of this in a video, so if you're a little more curious, go to Warcraft's logs, check out the top 5 guys, and notice how they are all making sure that they don't just instantly use these flagellation buffs on CD, because if you do that, and you're not very, very, very lucky with your exact kill time, you will end up hurting your DPS a little bit. Or maybe a lot of a bit. Do remember, there's a huge spike in damage right before the fight ended, for literally all of them. There is some RNG on this. Check my debuff. You're going to notice that it just refreshed there. What's going on? Well, I walked into that guy because I wanted to see what the bomb does. Just kidding, it was actually on accident. But you were able to notice that it reset my debuff to the max duration. So if you get unlucky with this, you do have to run out. It does mean you're not going to parse. The alternative would be you slow everybody else, which also would mean you wouldn't parse. As for the other debuff, you can probably just stand in melee with it if your group's trying to parse. What this will do is it will spread the debuff to all the other melee, so you will over time take increasing damage. So that could be a problem. You'd most likely need to all time it to run in front of the boss and drop it when he does drain blood like he's about to do here, which takes the debuff off. But you need to have really good healers, and if some of you missed this, almost for sure it would either cause a wipe or you'd need to bring so many extra healers that it would mess your kill times up anyways. This is something you're going to have to inspect for yourself. Obviously, not all the top guys are just giving up a bunch of their uptime by standing in front of the boss for the entirety of that debuff, but you might have to with your group. It's just a matter of practical considerations. And as for the range DPS, what mechanics can they ignore? You know, they're moving around when those blood bolts go out, so that way the goop on the ground doesn't hurt them. Let's see how hard it hits. You can check really fast. It's like 300 a second. I'm in Berserker stance, that's why it's doing 330. Eat it at your own risk. Like a lot of the other fights in the game in general, and especially in Sunken Temple, what will really get you to parse is playing with people who have the same mindset and that agree to a parse-based strat before you pull anything. You're probably going to have to take turns sometimes if you're trying to go for the highest parses. Good luck and communicate with your buddies. That's how you'll get the parse you really want. I'm Jake from Tree. Go click my fucking videos. Do it, do it, do it.